Hi, welcome back to the podcast. In this episode, I'm talking to Louise Banton. Louise served with the Royal Artillery and reached the rank of Staff Sergeant. Today she tells us what it was like serving with 4-7 regiments and 3-2 regiments, working on both air defence equipment and target locating equipment. Upon leaving the army, she decided to join the Australian Defence Force. She tells us what it was like doing a lateral transfer and ending up working with the Royal Australian Artillery. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was great of her to get in touch with us and tell us her story. If you like this podcast or the previous ones, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Frankie'sPod. It just goes to help fund the software and the hosting. Right, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking to Louise Banton. Louise lives out in Australia. She's going to tell us about doing the lateral transfer. She served with the Royal Artillery. How are you doing? How are you doing?
I am fantastic out here. How are you?
Yeah, it looks a lot nicer than here. I'll tell you that now anyway. Right, so if you just start with where you grew up and why did you join the army?
Okay, so I grew up in London, southeast London, Catford, original Peckham girl. I joined the army when I was 19 years old. So I did 2 years of college before that for my mum because, you know, she wanted me to go college. It was a waste of 2 years. Well, I grew up a little bit in that 2 years, I guess. And I did join the army at 16, like, you know, a child. So I had a little bit of experience behind me. So that was good. I joined at 19. Did 22 years. I got out in November 22. And I would say the last kind of 5-6 years of my career, obviously, you know, you're getting out, you know, you're coming up to the end of your time and you start sort of thinking in your head of, you know, what am I going to do next? And resettlement, what am I going to do for resettlement? And I knew quite a few people that had done and been through this process successfully. And kept in touch with them. They loved it over here. And I was also really unhappy with living in the UK, to be honest. I think there's a lot of people that probably would agree with and how things, you know, have gone in the UK over the last few years. So as my time was coming towards the end, I started thinking about this more and more, the lateral transfer. And I just got it into my head. I kind of knew that's what I wanted to do. And there was people closer to my time moving out here as well that I was serving with. So they did it in the last couple of years of me serving, and they've been over here now for a couple of years, and they really helped me through the process. But not only that, I had to speak to my partner, kind of convince my partner, who at first was a little bit, I'm in an arm, you know, arguing with it, which, you know, it's a big thing to do and a big thing to think about. So it's not I'm just going to do this. You'll just pop over to Australia and, you know, that's that kind of thing. It's, you know, you really need to look into it and think about it. And then so the process takes 18 months to 2 years. It should take that long. It usually takes about that long. But, you know, me being me, I put my expression of interest in when I had 2 years left in the army. And shortly after I did that, COVID kicked off. So it actually took me 3.5 years to get out here, which added sort of stress and pressure. It was quite frustrating.
So what regiments were you serving within the British Army then?
So I originally started off at 4-7 Regiment down in Thorney Island, Portsmouth. Before they moved up to Larkhill. So I was with them for the first sort of 5 years of my army career, 2-1 battery as well. That's where
2-1 Gibraltar battery. Bloody hell. I was 4-7 when it was a field regiment.
When it was what, sorry?
When it was a field regiment. So yous lot kicked us out of Thorney, basically. I loved that place.
Yeah. Well, they got kicked out of Thorney again, didn't they?
Yeah.
In the end. But yeah, I started off there with 2-1 battery. That was an eye-opener. first place to send, me to to start my army career. But, I went there. I volunteered to go on my first tour of Iraq while I was there. And it was I just volunteered, like a position came up, like a driver sort of operator. And I just tacked on to a med group. Yeah, that was my first tour. And when I came back, because of all the changes done within the army at that time, 2-1 Battery finally managed to get rid of me and send me to 3-2 Regiment RA, which was obviously in Larkhill.
Yeah.
So I went there, switched roles from H3M LML to a Phoenix operator. So I did like a Phoenix operator course, and I was in their sort of signals troop. And again, we went out to Iraq.
It's a very different role, though, going from air defence to the Phoenix operator, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but do you know what? I'm thankful that happened, because I freaking hated air defence. No, no offence to any air defence, but it just, UAVs is it was a much better sort of role for me, I believe. And yeah, I'd stayed there throughout most of my army career until 4-7 came up to Larkhill, and then I went back to 4-7 as Watchkeeper was coming in, the UAV.
Yeah.
So after Phoenix, I did DH3, went out on tour again with DH3 as a pilot. After that, I went to Afghan as a Hermes 450 pilot, captain pilot. And then the last time I went to Afghan was Herrick 20, when it was sort of closing down, and that was with Watchkeeper, not as a pilot, but as a flight safety officer and MXC, so mission controller.
I mean, I don't know nothing about UAVs. I've never worked with them, never been anywhere near them. It seems like a decent job, I must admit.
Yeah, do you know what? I always liked it, and I enjoyed it. I did prefer the mini UAVs, we call them, like the DH3s and stuff like that. We've got Puma now, but because you're more out, you go out sort of more on the ground get attached to sort of infantry and stuff like that, and you do more on the ground stuff with your mini UAVs. But I also like tactical as well.
So do the big ones have arms on them? I'm not sure. I literally know nothing about them.
No, I don't think the RAF will ever let the army have armed UAVs, and that's the same story as over here as well. Actually, the RAF have armed ones, like Predator and stuff. But I'd, maybe in the future, who knows? Who knows? UAVs are so popular now. Drones throughout the whole world.
Well, I mean, just look at Ukraine.
They can do everything.
Yeah, just look at Ukraine, exactly. The way they're doing it now. It's
that's happening now.
It's amazing that you've got multi-million-pound vehicles and stuff like that, and they're getting took out by a 20-quid drone with a bit of bloody plastic explosive on it and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's the role that they've kind of put me into here. So when you put your expression of interest in, you send over all your experience, your proof of qualifications and stuff like that. And they've obviously taken all my UAV background and sent me out here as a UAV, soon to be UAV operator again, which is what I wanted. So because the last 8 years of my career, I kind of retraded to the logistics side. So I was dual rolled, which again was, I think was quite a good thing,
So when you started the process, did you know much about it beforehand? So the lateral transfer, is it just, a process?
I think because we had, I don't know if you experienced this, but we had, you have a thing in the British Army and in the Australia and New Zealand Army as well called Look at Life. Did you hear of that?
No.
Yeah, so you didn't have that?
No.
So people would, go over for 3 or 6 months as like a Look at Life kind of thing, to the New Zealand or Australian. So I knew a few people that had done that. We also had 2 Australians that came on tour with us as well, attached to us. Which one of them I'm really good friends with now. I met with him when I got out here.
Oh yeah, in fact, actually, it's called. It was called Exercise Long Look or Long Hook or something like that. Yeah,
they call it Look at Life now. One of those anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it is. So that's always kind of gone on for quite a few years, I think.
Yeah.
I've been doing it and jumping on that wagon and stuff, and then gradually, kind of a few people here and there did the lateral transfer thing. It's become a lot more popular now. So just hearing, people through stuff like that, and obviously you keep in touch with people on Facebook, and you see their pictures and everything. I started following the Defence Forces social media and the Australian Army social media, and when I started getting interest the last few years, I sort of began looking into it more and talking to more people, and people were going through the process as I was looking into it, so they were talking to me about it before I put my expression of interest in, and I was like, Jesus, I could do this, because I got out when I was 40 years old, so I was like, I've still got a good, I'm quite fit still.
Yeah.
I've got no injury, like no issues. I don't have children, although you can do it with children. Many people do that because it's the way of life is so much better for your family. But myself, I was like, I can, and I like the military as well. I do like the military, and I thought I've got at least another 10 years in me, surely. So, you know what I mean? And I didn't want to stay in the UK, so I was like, yeah, this will do me, I think, for sure. This is a bit of me, so yeah, I went through with it.
So how long did it actually take in the end? I know you mentioned earlier about 3.5 years or where it was. So what's the actual process then? Is it just filling in forms, interviews, and such like?
It is a long ass process, right? So it should take 18 months to 2 years max. But obviously, just the timing just wasn't on my side, unfortunately. But you can't help a flipping global pandemic, can you?
No, not really, no.
So you can't really help that. So that's what made it 3.5 years. So I actually was out of the army for just under a year before I actually came over here. So I spent quite a bit of time out of the army before I actually got here. So getting back here and putting on a uniform again, I'd been a little bit civified by that point, and I was like, fuck it hell.
Were you not tempted to change your mind or anything?
Nah. I knew it was coming. I was just waiting for it, basically. But it's still a little bit of a shock to the system, because
Yeah, you'd relaxed a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I'd relaxed a bit, so I had to, reset and get my mind back in the game, kind of thing.
So did you have to do any form of training again, or daft question, I suppose, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Do you have to basic training or anything? I don't know.
The reason that you send everything through, and the process is so they are thorough. Australia are thorough. Well, yeah. Everyone kind of knows that. It's not an easy country to just get into. So they are thorough with everything, medicals, throughout your visas, everything. You have welfare interviews, myself and my partner. You have interviews. It was video at the time, obviously, because of COVID. So I did mine via video chat, or you go down to the embassy in London and do it there face to face. But it's just a lot. It is quite a long. It's a bit stressful. It's a bit tedious. But again, I guess it's how much you want it. If you want it, then you will do that process and get through it. And I guess sometimes it weeds people out.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to get people who just can't be bothered to wait that long, puts them off, and yeah, all right then, you didn't really want it. Bye bye.
Yeah, because the amount of stuff you have to send, and you've got to scan everything through, and you can only send it in certain sizes, and it is a bit of a pain in the ass. I'm not going to lie, but looking back now, like, it was totally worth it. So
Yeah.
I'd absolutely do it again.
So did you get to keep your rank and everything like that when you moved over?
Nah, of course you don't. Unfortunately, not. I mean, if you come over, because I know people that have come over as captains,
Yeah.
they've kept their rank. They go off of trades and where they need people the most, and what ranks they're kind of lacking in,
Yeah.
and that's where they'll put you. So, although I finished as a staff sergeant in the British Army, they sent me over here as a full screw with seniority, 3 year seniority, which is a kick in the balls, like, for anyone,
Yeah.
But I know that I know people that have been, WO1s, WO2s, and they've lost 2 or 3 ranks. People have been knocked down from staffies or sergeants to lance jacks. It is a kick in the balls, and I really think they need to look into that. But it's just something that comes with it, unfortunately, and you have to do training again for whatever your trade is, and their kind of rank and trades kind of work different as to what ours do. Like, their promotion goes based on, it's like a trade course, so you have to do the trade course for the promotion,
Right.
and like that. So yeah, I've had to do, like, I've just finished 2 courses, which is like signals and weapons training, and I've got sort of advanced signals, if you will, next week, and then I go on to sort of my flying courses and promotion flying course.
Yeah.
And then so going from being in the mess for a good few years in the UK, enjoying mess life, as you do, a lot of work to get in that mess, to come in here and I'm not even allowed in the mess. It is a kick in the balls.
But I would imagine that so the people who've done the transfer and had the rank like yourself and everything like that, do they not progress, or do you think they would progress quicker than, say, like a normal guy off the street? Or is that not really taken into account?
They can progress, and they do. People that come over, as laterals. I know that we recently had in the UAV regiment, which is 20 regiment out here in Brisbane. They had the first sort of lateral RSM. He finished his 2 years, and he's now down in Melbourne doing another job. But he was the first lateral RSM, so it does get done, and it can get done. You can sort of go through the ranks, but then all you have to do is you can serve 3 years minimum. That's what you're contracted to, because of how much they've spent to get you over here. And it just depends on what you want and what kind of person you are, really, and if you can take it or not, and if you want to progress and you want a life out here with the military and everything else. But some people, I don't know of anyone, to be honest, but some people just take the 3 years and kind of go, because by that time you've got citizenship. So they've got to be
it's a big step to get citizenship, really, isn't it? I'll join the army. But I mean, if you were used to the military, it's not that big a step. I suppose it's an easy way to get citizenship.
Yeah, and and they've got to sort of cover their backs for that, really, and they're kind of wary of that situation as well. But then I think if you're knocking people down so many ranks and bringing them over, then it is frustrating, and people will and can get frustrated for that. And they've got to understand that they're probably more gonna go, oh, do you know what, fuck this, I'll just do my free, fuck off, like. But I wouldn't advise that on anyone, and I'm certainly not going to do that, because
no, but, I mean, it's, to be honest, it's I know guys I know one lad, he applied for lateral transfer and was turned down, but his missus was Australian, so he left the army, he moved over there anyway, got his citizenship, and then he went and joined the army. So I was like, fucking hell, all right then. But You know, he was like, I
I
think he
know.
was working in a garage for about 5 years. Got fed up with that, so he
Yeah,
went off and joined the infantry, which was another
yeah.
shock. Yeah,
There's so many different ways, and that you hear different stories and stuff. Like so many people that apply, because there's a Facebook page for people that want to do this, like the lateral transfer page, if you will. And it gives loads of advice and people that are going through the process at different times and stuff like that. There are people that do get turned down. It just depends when you apply. Like they'll get turned down 1 year and then they'll wait a year and then apply that year and then they'll get in from that. It
yeah.
just depends on their numbers and what they really need, basically, and as to where they put you, what qualifications you've got. So that's how they work off of it.
So when you moved over, did you get a choice of what regiment you wanted to go into, or where you wanted to live, or anything like that, or was it just a case of, right, you're with us, you're going over there, you're going to live there, just deal with it?
Yeah, kind of. You kind of understand that as you're going through the process. Well, you have an idea in your mind. Like for me, for example, I knew that they would probably take me on my UAV qualifications and experience. It was a given, not my logistical background as
Yeah.
well. The UAV, because they've got I knew they were having a new system in. They're performing a new battery. They want experience. They want pilots. So it's quite. I knew I'd probably get in on that sense. So I knew I'd probably go to 20 Reg. Well, definitely end up at 20 Reg because that is their UAV regiment. So you do have an idea of where you're more likely to go, depending on what trade you are.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, yeah.
So
yeah.
you're not going in totally blind and then you end up in like Darwin or Townsville. You'll go in and you're gonna end up, or I'm probably going to end up in Adelaide or Perth, or do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So you do have a bit of idea.
Oh, it makes sense. Yeah, and it's fair's fair, isn't it? They're kind of doing.
Yeah.
I was going to say they're kind of doing you a favour, but you're also doing them a favour as well, because they want people to come and join. So it's not just a one way.
They want people that, like, they're as the UK sort of military are now, they're struggling with retention and actually getting people in and stuff like that and keeping hold of people. So everyone's struggling, so that they want us to come over. They need us to come over. They want the experience. They want to bump up their numbers, and so yeah.
So can you compare, or is there a comparison? I mean, the Australian military and the British military are very similar in the doctrine and stuff like that. But can you compare the two? Are they comparable, really?
So yeah, I mean, their boss is the king. Okay, so that they've all their history and stuff like that is from our history and colours and stuff like that. So they do go off of a lot of our kind of styles and ways we do things, but also in some senses they are different as well. Do you know what I mean? They are their own army. Their kit and equipment's different from ours. But if you look at it like this, like their weapon, for example, is different from our SA-80 weapon. However, when you do the drills and stuff like that, it's all basically it's kind of the same. They just word stuff differently, like in your weapon handlings tests, the wording is different, but it kind of means the same thing, gets you to the same point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, they're a lot more. I don't want to say chilled out.
There's less bullshit.
Kind of, it seems, yeah. I mean, people do get stressed at work, and there are people that are working hard, always. But it's a little more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, a bit step back.
Well, I get this done like yesterday, kind of thing. Do you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just the Australian attitude, anyway, isn't it? They're just more laid back than we are.
It's so much. Everyone's so nice over here, honestly. And the thing I felt claustrophobic in the UK. Right. I honestly did. It just, I felt so claustrophobic, so miserable, I was just, I'm not totally slating it. I'm proud to be British, and I love where I'm from. I've seen so much of the UK, and there is so much beauty in it. But I was just at a point where I just needed to go. And coming out here, I feel like I can breathe.
Yeah. I mean,
You know what I mean?
It's a little bit bigger, isn't it? Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Had bigger. So honestly, that.
I mean, did you appreciate that? But or didn't you? I don't know. Rephrase that. So we know Australia's bigger, but I mean, I can't compare it because I've never been there. You know what I mean? So I can't envisage going from one side of the country to the other. What's that like? I mean, the distances between places.
Well, there's a lot of there's domestic internal flights here. So, if a drive, so Sydney is like an 8.5 hour drive from where we are, or it's an hour and 10-minute flight. So, people drive a lot more out here. They will just drive over to the next place. Over here they will drive 2 hours to go to lunch or go to someone's barbecue. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where we're like, it's 10 minutes. Not that. Do you know what I mean? You can't even be bothered to. It's just weird. It's just crazy.
Yeah. It's like Canada. I mean, I've got mates who live out in Canada, and one of them moved from the west coast to the east coast, and he drove, like moving house, like his house, the stuff in the back of a trailer, and moved, and it took him like a week to get across, and he was driving. I was like, okay, it's not that. So I mean, the other thing with Australia, I think I'd like to know is, you touched on earlier that everyone's so nice and stuff like that, and I've watched like documentaries. I don't know if you watched the Miriam Margolyes one where she went round Australia. I thought that was brilliant. I mean, she's mental case anyway. I'd love to meet her. She's absolutely brilliant. But the way I didn't know she was now an Australian citizen either. I didn't know that. But the people she met, I don't know whether they were hand-picked or was that like a cross-section of the people you're going to meet anyway type of thing?
Yeah. No. Yeah, they're just, I don't know. It's different. Like, so we're in Melbourne right now, and Melbourne is probably classed as the more cultural, diverse city.
Yeah.
It's huge on sports. Like, there's always stuff going on here, like comedy festivals, there's music, there's everything here. Like, there's always something going on, and it is amazing city. It's probably, so I can't compare it to anywhere else in Australia because I've not really been.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit like London-ish, but not, if you know what I mean. If you want to compare it to,
but less knife crime.
Yeah. But it is really good. I did go to Sydney last weekend, but I didn't get to see it much. I was marching in the Mardi Gras of the ADF contingent, which was fantastic. So yeah, I didn't get to see Sydney much, but my wife, she got to walk around while I was with the army and stuff doing my thing. She got to tour it a little bit and went to the Opera House, and she absolutely fell in love with it. So we will go back for a weekend so we can both go and have a real good look at it and see what it's like.
So she's glad she's come over then in the end.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. So, and that was a little bit part of COVID, what kind of brought that on, because she got made redundant in they didn't handle it very well, in a pretty shitty way, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it was quite upsetting to her. So then she kind of was like, look, do you still want to do the Australia thing? And I was like, yes, of course, only if you do. And then she said, I think we should, fuck it, let's just do it. And I said, right, let's just have a discussion first. Don't do this on a whim, because it's a bit of a shit time, fucking COVID, you've just been made redundant. I don't want to, we can't just do it on a whim like that. So we both properly looked into it. We spoke to our friends, we had a conversation, and that's how that kind of happened, really. So,
And you're not looking back, are you? You're not going to look back.
Absolutely not. No.
So here's another question for you then. What happens with your pension? Is it affected by you joining the Australian Army?
No, I still got my pension, got my payout.
Yeah.
The monthly that still goes on, and I've got in touch with them, obviously, because you need to tell them change of address and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I've sent that through to them, and you just, as long as you declare it over here through tax,
it's another income, isn't it?
yeah, then you're okay. I mean, well, very few, but I heard a story that someone came over and didn't do that, and they ended up getting sort of found out, because the thing is, they know.
Yeah.
They know, if you've done 22 years and they know that you get a payout, they know that you get a monthly payment. So it's not worth trying to hide it. Just, do you know what I mean?
It's not that, not that much money that you're going to be. I don't know. Is it more tax over
No.
there? Do you pay more tax? Or because the way I understand it, Australia is quite expensive.
People say that. So I think everywhere in the world is struggling with this, with the economy and cost of living crisis. When we come over here, I don't. In comparison, like, petrol is so much cheaper over here. I'm on more my wage than what I was on in the UK as a staff sergeant. So figure that one, exactly. So that's why when you lose the ranks and people come over here, they have to lose rank. It's on your contract. You sign the contract. You know what you're getting into. I think that's what makes it a bit better, is the fact that that's why. Else people wouldn't do it. If I wouldn't come over here if I was on less than what I was on in the UK. Do you know? So I know I've lost a couple of ranks. However, I'm still on more than what I was on in the UK as a pretty much maxed out staff sergeant.
That's pretty good going then.
That kind of helps, yeah.
Just a bit, yeah.
But yeah, cost of living, it's like it is. They've got their issues out here as well. However, it's nowhere near as bad as the UK. I don't think.
What about like, we've got the NHS? Does Australia have similar?
So they have something called Medicare. Right. And obviously I'm under the military. I get all my healthcare back, which is great. So we're both got a Medicare card, so it's not quite the NHS, but the healthcare is so much better over here. Oh my God, it's so much better. She's on something called private healthcare insurance, as a civvy, but she's under the defence one. So, obviously you pay monthly for that. It's not that much, but it covers her then. So, and it's in private healthcare. So even the normal healthcare over here is still, I think, far from what we've experienced so far, it's far better than the UK.
So how long can you stay in the army then? Until what age?
And that's the other appealing thing as well. You can serve out here D60.
Sits back in shock. Well, I didn't know that either.
There are people that cling on for dear life until that age. Some even do a couple of years over. They can get, they can do a couple of years over and extend. So, yeah.
So how long do you have to qualify for a pension then with them?
Oh God! See, these questions I'm not really. I don't really totally understand it all yet. I'm still kind of learning their ways of things. I pay into a superannuation pension.
Right.
I don't even that's what.
So it's not the same as where we didn't pay anything into it.
Yeah, I think you can choose to not do that. I think, from my understanding, possibly, I think you'd pay more into it on the superannuation, or you can choose not to do that and pay less, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, you do get like a pension out here. I'm still not entirely sure how.
Yeah, you've got time to find out. It doesn't really matter yet, does it?
So that's why, if I do, however long I serve till, it just depends. I'll do whatever feels right for me, and I will just take each day, month, year as it comes, and I'm still happy, I'll continue, and I want to continue and do this for as long as I can, really.
So here's
And
another
then
one for you then. Now that like Afghan's over and Iraq's over and stuff like that,
yeah.
where are the Australian forces deploying, or are they not?
They are. I mean, they help out a lot, like the UK. So there's people that go over to the UK that help with training of certain forces, etc. in the UK, as we're doing, and they're doing stuff like that as well. They do a lot of stuff on the local sort of islands.
Yeah.
A lot of things, because they have a lot of natural disasters over in this side of the world, and that's one of the appealing things to me as well. The humanitarian work that they do. So if and when there's a chance to do that, I'd like to sort of get involved and do that as well. But they do Egypt, America. They serve in a lot of places. It depends what job you're doing, like where you need to conduct specific training. They go to. So
yeah, I know. I read once, or I watched a video or something. It might have been a YouTube thing, or about a documentary about the Northern Territories, where the units up there that patrol a lot, and it's I wouldn't say it's classed as active service, but it more or less is, because there is a threat of people. If somebody was going to invade Australia, that's where it would be, because it's the closest to any of the mainland.
Yeah, and they are, they are very aware of certain other countries as well that could be a threat. So I think everywhere's even the UK.
They're getting closer. They're getting closer every day.
Yeah, so everyone's kind of very aware that something could potentially happen from somewhere, so they're doing their best to prepare for it.
Yeah. So do the Australian Army or the Australian military have the same like problems that we have with the budget, or does the Australian government actually give them a bit more than ours does?
I think everywhere struggles with budget in defence. Not as bad as us, I don't think.
Yeah.
Because they're getting, from what I'm seeing and hearing, that they're getting and introducing a lot of new kit and equipment, like upgrades, and we're just bringing on, literally just now bringing on a new drone system, like UAV system, from the old one. So I think they want to, and they want to spend more on the military because of what's going on. That's why they want more numbers coming in. So yeah, I'm not, again, I'm not too au fair with everything.
I know it's a bit of an unfair question, really. I know, but people want to know these things, really. What's your plans for the future then? Really, I mean, you've done what you wanted to do. You've got over there. Have you got any idea really how long you want to serve? And are you looking any further forward than that to what you could be doing if you're not serving?
So yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd like to retire at 55, 60. I mean, that's probably a lot of people's dreams to retire. But as I said before, I'm happy to do this for as long as necessary, and as long as I'm still fit and I'm enjoying it and I'm getting everything I can out of it, and vice versa, then I'm more than happy to kind of stay. And if my partner's happy, if we're happy, we're good. Yeah. Eventually love to buy property out here, for our home in Brisbane, hopefully. But we don't know yet. We like Melbourne, but again, we just need to explore and stuff. But I'm happy to serve till I'm not happy, really. Yeah. My goal is to reach, because I didn't in the UK, is to reach WO2, is to get WO2 out here, because they don't have the rank of Staff Sergeant either. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I never knew that, no. I thought their rank structure actually mirrored ours exactly. I thought that.
It did. They only got rid of staff sergeant. I don't even know. It was a few years ago, I think. They've got. I think I hear stories. They've got like a couple that are hanging on. Because you can serve up to your 60. Some go over. They've got a couple of coffin dodgers hanging on. I think to that the last like 2 rank something. But apart from that, no, they don't have staff sergeant out here. So
do they have an equivalent, or is it just no need for it?
Sergeant WO2.
Wow, it just seems a bit bizarre, doesn't it? It's weird.
I know. I know it's very bizarre, but that's what they've done, and that's how it works out here. So I think it's achievable. I'd love to reach WO2 and go from there.
Oh, good luck with it.
That is my goal. So, yeah.
So, how was your wife found being there then? Like employment or anything like that?
She's loved it out here. I mean, it's for partners. It depends. Sometimes people will find and jump into a job straight away. Sometimes it takes a few months, maybe even like a year or whatever. But there's been no kind of rush or pressure onto it because we've come over in a good, we've come over like prepared and stuff like that. So she's at the moment she's a qualified makeup artist and she's worked in events and stuff like that. So at the moment she's like dog pet sitting, and she's doing some event work for an agency. She just got a job with them, so she wants to keep her flexible because I'm potentially only here for a year and a half, 2 years before I go to regiment. So she didn't want to get stuck into a proper full-time job when we're going to potentially be moving on soon. So she's happy to just stay flexible, and where I'm happy for her to do that. She absolutely loves it.
I'm not saying I'm jealous or anything, but fucking hell, I am. It's pissing down with rain here. It's freezing.
Oh no! Oh, don't envy you at all. Sorry. No. I know.
You messaged earlier. I've just been out for a run. I mean, I know it's fucking late here and it's early there, but I was just like, oh, fuck off.
I know. It's heat wave this weekend as well. It's literally 38 degrees today.
Cheers. It was 8 degrees here when I was on the way to work this morning. So yeah, in fact, no, coming home it was 8 degrees. I think it was -1 going to work. Yeah.
Oh no! You got to remember the seasons have flipped.
Yeah, the seasons have flipped. Yeah, so that's going to be a weird one. Having Christmas Day in the summer, isn't it?
They do like it. They do kind of celebrate because it's winter in like July over here or whatever. Yeah. They do have like a Christmas thing, in July. So
right, I didn't know that either. I never heard of that before.
Yeah, they do have like a Christmas themed thing, so everyone can be a bit cold and well, it's still not as bad as the UK, but it will the weather will be changing soon. Because we're going into
hopefully it will for us as well, get a bit warmer. Right, I'll just I think we've come to the end of that one then, unless there's anything else you'd want to talk about with it. Any advice you want to give people or anything?
Yeah, just from what I said at the beginning, really, if people are thinking about or considering doing this, there is a page you can follow on Facebook. It's full of people going through the lateral process and people that the admins of that page have set it up from a good few years ago because they've been out here a few years. There's lots of good advice and information on there. Or welcome to get in touch with me if anyone has any questions or queries about it or thinking about it. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'll offer my services there for that.
Yeah, when I do it, I'll put your name on the show notes. I'm not going to put your email address because you don't know that junk shite you're going to get if you do that. So if people want to get in touch with you, they can get in touch with you through Facebook. If they're that interested, they'll find you, type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't want to make it too easy for the spammers, you know what I mean?
I mean, I've had loads of people get in touch anyway. That are doing it. They're due over here this year. There's a few people due over here this year. It really has become such a popular thing. So, yeah, I'm happy to help out wherever.
Yeah, not a problem. Right, I'll just stop the recording there then.
Okay.
Right, yeah, so, yeah, that's stopped. No, thanks for that. That's honestly, I didn't know half of that stuff. I didn't know anything. I don't know nothing about the Australian Forces.
I still don't know much. Like when you was asking stuff, I was like, oh, fucking hell. Yeah, I'm still really learning out here. There's so, honestly, that is so different. It's just getting your head around everything, the ways and how they work. But yeah, I don't have all the answers, unfortunately. Yeah, I've not been over here that long in the grand scheme of things. What, 6 months? Is it 6 months? 5 months? 6 months? Yeah, so not that long.
So how do the other guys treat you? You know, the natives, I mean, like in the army. The Australians, anyway.
I mean, you get some, obviously, people that join the Australian army that are from that background, you know. So I've not come across too many because, you know, I've not been out in proper country and, you know, where in the north where that's, you know, mostly kind of native in indigenous territory, I guess.
Yeah.
But you do, you know, they're very respectful of that side of them, Australia. Like whenever you go on parade and marches or do anything, if you hear their prime minister talk, he's very, you know, respectful and always speaks highly of the indigenous kind of people. And
well, I mean, let's face it, they didn't used to treat them very nice, did they?
Well, yeah. We always bear their flag, and you know, so that's what I'm getting from that kind of side from it. But I haven't had too many dealings with.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, I'll say thank you.
What time is it over there now?
11:15.
Oh gosh, it's Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night. I haven't had a full beer yet.
Oh my god! Well, enjoy your beers, and
I think. Do you know what it is? That's the day I've had at work. I think and the kids are fucking playing them. I think I'm just going to go to bed.
Fair enough. I'm going to go get pissed.
Oh yeah, no, fuck it. I think I'll have a couple of beers then. No, thanks very much for doing this. Really appreciate it. So there was an abrupt ending to that because we had a bit of an issue with the recording, as you probably guessed throughout. Sorry about that. Next week's episode is subject to change. I don't really want to go into it too much. So keep an eye out on Facebook or any social media that I'm on for any information about it. Information should be around by about Thursday, as usual. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and look forward to bringing you 3 more in the near future. All right, bye-bye now.